New releases. This time we have Adept coming back after 9 years. Letters on Tables, remaking the Hands Like Houses remake, uh, debut Ground Dweller, Greyhaven with Keep It Quiet, and Dead Eyes bringing their debut full length Black Hole Heart. All Time Low putting out another one after 22 years of being together. Everyone's talking. And Yellowcard also after 9 years coming back with Better Days. Gonna start with Adapt. The wait is over. 9 years since Sleepless. And I've been hyped for this so much. The first 5 songs set expectations really high in the sense of hoping that this would just be like an Adept banger, bringing the essence throughout the whole album, and it did. It really delivered. Produced by Henrik Udd and put out through the label Napalm Record. It's just so great. Kind of as a back to the roots for them, with some songs bringing more of the post-hardcore energy they had early on in their career, while as well getting more into that metalcore sound that defined their later career stages and releases. And then also Henrik Ott bringing in that arena-ready polish to it, which is kind of weird, right? You say it goes back to the roots, but then also that it's ready for bigger arenas. But when you listen to it and you know the earlier works of Adept, you will get what I mean. It's everything you want from them and then some. Now, my favorites here are Define Me, which, which really brings that heaviness, that crushing heaviness. That Adept is known for with really nice soaring hooks, and Ignore the Sun, which was pre-release before track number 10, just is playing to their full melodic strength, and Robert's voice there is really superb. Also, I would want to highlight the opener Blood Covenant, which also has a way to make Robert's voice shine. A quote by singer Robert Jung on working with Henrik Ott, put out through a Napalm Record press release, where he says that working with Henrik Ott helped us create the most powerful version of Adept that's ever existed. When we decided to come back, we knew it couldn't just be about reliving the past. Blood Covenant had to prove we still have something vital to say, and they do. And they, in my opinion, prove that they are back in the best way you would imagine. I definitely recommend this album to anyone who loved Adept before, of course, but also to people who haven't heard of them before. It's not wrong to start with this album and just give it a full go. Blood Covenant will have you just g- glued to their style from the very beginning. Adept will be on tour in November and December in Europe and the UK, and also have announced 3 Sweden shows in February 26th. There are no US tour dates announced so far, but tickets for EU and UK are still available if you want to go and check them out. I'll be going in Cologne. Definitely am very hyped to see them. Seen them before with all the way back in the years with Death Dealers. Amazing show. Now the venues, of course, are way larger, but I'm hoping they still bring a very good show. Ground Dwellers remade by Letters on Tables, which really is just Trenton Woodley, the former Hands Like Houses singer, and Bahadur Bohani, who worked together, put this out independently without any label, and released it sort of like a crowd-funded release throughout the year with 3 track EPs before the full release now on October 13th. And this one was a reimagining in the way that Trenton Woodley always wanted to do this, in a post-hardcore way, without the overproduction that was done to it originally in 2012 by Cameron Mizell. And my standout song for this is Cruel Men, Cowards and Liars. It's just a demo from when they recorded this album back in 2012 and was previously unreleased, but now he took it, and it's a really great song, and it just starts that album off with something you haven't heard before, so you have no preconceived opinion on how it sounded, really. Also, very nice on this is the new version of Antarctica, which is just very ambitious and atmospheric to it in a way that I imagined it should have always sounded, or the way it should have always been like this, and now gets to shine even more. Yeah, so the whole album was self-produced by Trenton and Bahadur. It's just post-hardcore through and through. It follows the blueprint set by Seosin with their self-titled album debut in 2006, which is all clean vocals and just that melody-driven theatrical approach to post-hardcore, but really everything but mainstream. And this all came together, I believe, or why this came together can be encapsulated by a quote that Trenton Woodley gave to Substream magazine in September 2018, so 7 years before he re-recorded this, and even 4 years before, 5 years before departing from Hands Like Houses. We said that I don't think any album that we've created, I feel like, I don't love that album. Even our first album, Ground Dwellers, it's like I'm still incredibly proud of what that was. There's a lot of things I would have done differently if I was writing it now, but at that point in time, that's what it was. And just goes to show you that he had his gripes, but still loved the album as it was. And the project tagline for Letters on Tables is sometimes the way forward starts from the beginning. So very excited to see what Trenton Woodley will be up to with Letters on Tables in the future, if he sees this as a new beginning or as a way forward with his beginnings in music. They announced 4 shows in Australia so far in Newcastle, Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne, November 12th through 15th, I believe. And they are going to play Ground Dweller and some Hands Like Houses favorites. So if you're in the area and like what they are doing, check them out. Keep It Quiet by Greyhaven, produced by none other than Will Putney, put out through Solid State Records. Big names in the scene. I believe this is their 3rd album with Will. You could call this Greyhaven's creative peak because this album is really, really great. No questions about what kind of sound they wanted to achieve. My favorite tracks are Where the Light Leaves Us, which just really has an incredible singing performance and a bass line that really, really shines, really sets the groundwork for the whole track to establish its mood. And then also Diamond to Diamond, which just showcases straightforward, melodic, and atmospheric. Like it really has a nice atmosphere to it. And I believe that's achieved through the songwriting throughout, the song structuring, and the way the progressive chaos meets really just like burning choruses throughout, but in this track especially. So the bass guitar prominence on this album is not a coincidence. This was intentional by Will Putney during the production. It really gives the bass a lot of room without taking away from the guitars and the other instruments. Just sets the perfect underline, like I said before, for everything else and sets the mood. This might really be Greyhaven's push from cult favorite to mainstream metal recognition. They are probably my favorite progressive post-hardcore band out there right now. Just the way they technically approach music right now is very, very great. There's a lot to say about this album and the creation of the album, but one quote about Satellite in Love by singer Brent Mills really underlines how they approached it or how they achieved what they did with this album. He said during a Kerrang track by track interview, I honestly can't believe how this song turned out. I say that because this is another one I've had sitting on my computer for 5+ years. It really wasn't until we got to the studio and Nick came up with the chorus riff that it began to come together. I remember him hitting these chords and feeling like, yes, this is going to be awesome. And then Will says, now throw an off note in there and make it like Alice in Chains. And he goes on, but I just wanted to quote until this point, just to underline how Will's input gave them means to achieve what they did with this album and how it got so great. would definitely recommend this one to everyone into post-hardcore, even if you're usually not so much the progressive type of person. Tour dates for Greyhaven. They just finished the EU UK tour, or will finish the EU UK tour this week when this video releases on October 29th, as a support for Better Lovers. But then starting November 12th, in just about 2 weeks, they will start their Keep It Quiet tour in the US, in New York, and will play throughout the whole month for 5 weeks until December 13th, and tickets are still available. So go see them. They will bring Fox Lake and Commoner with them. Black Hole Heart by Dead Eyes definitely would have been my favorite this episode if it wasn't for Adept. But my god, what a debut album by them. Produced by Kyle Odell, whose production really shines on this one, and put out through Thriller Records, who the band themselves said was their dream label to go to. So everything worked out quite well for them. The drumming on this one is insane. I will talk about that later, but Chris Chapman is the drummer for Dead Eyes, and he's bringing it all. Favorites so far are Tourniquet, who just balances a crushing weight throughout the verses with really just melodic hooks that make you feel comforted. Take Me To is an emotional gut punch, of course, thematically not the most comforting stuff to talk about when you lose someone and you feel like what or you ask yourself, what's the point in going forward? What's the point going further? And Mr. Dead to You, which is just about love lost, losing a relationship to a person and then just being someone who's dead to them. But this one just showcases how Dead Eyes on this album are really confident in what they are doing, bringing really heavy style metal, mixing it with hard rock and electric elements, and making it super approachable and melodic. Now, production by Kyle Odell lets the drums shine. Like I said before, they are always in the center of the songs. Doesn't matter which song here. You get a feel for that right when Mad One starts. And throughout the whole album, the drums really just are insane. So keep an ear out for that. They hit super hard, but never get too messy, right? So you can hear every single hit loud and clear. Dead Eyes have a lot of listeners, but it's their debut. They're just starting out. And it's just that metalcore, post-hardcore feeling to it, but then also bringing a melody into it, like a melodic approach on every song, and mixing it with electronic instruments in a way that really the last time I felt about something being so approachable but still so hard was maybe when A Day to Remember started out. I think they also had that pop punky feeling. Like they had a pop punky feeling, while this more has a hard rock feeling to it. But yeah, just as a kind of comparison as to how this feels. It's very different musically wise, but has the same sort of feeling to it, is what I'm trying to say. Dead Eyes will play their last show on October 31st as a support for Archers, and they don't have any further shows announced yet. Everyone's Talking by All Time Low. Here we go. Produced by Dan Swank and Alex Gascard, the singer himself. They kept us really in the inner circle, leaving Fueled by Ramen and starting their own label, Basement Noise Records, just signing with Virgin for a distribution deal. And so they had full creative control and kept us in their inner circle. All Time Low really stands out because they have the same lineup since 22 years. No changes at all, no drama, no nothing, just insane musical output, self-produced. My favorite tracks so far are Bubblegum and Cigarettes and Sabotage. They aren't the most, how would you say, complex written songs, but that's exactly what I want when I'm listening to pop punk, right? I want it to be easy with a nice catchy hook and just that flirtatious pop punk energy in it, which these two songs just really, really bring, right? They have that carefree energy you would want when listening to an album like this. Now, this album was mixed by Neil Everin and Zach Serini, which really are just the pop punk hall of fame, working with every band there is. Neil Everin especially producing every single Yellowcard album until the newest one. And they deliver after 22 years. They still have something to say. And they are just one of the few bands that followed up what Blink 182 established back in the days with their melody driven music that was really accessible. And so they really bridged that 2000s emo pop punk era with today's nostalgia. There's a huge longing for nostalgia in music nowadays, I feel. And they really deliver on that without feeling engineered to just cater to that, right? Like they still wanted to make this music with having something to say and not because they wanted to cater to the fans. All Time Low are on world tour, will be on world tour. Currently, they are on tour in the US until November 29. So if there's still tickets available for a show near them, check it out. Then they will head to Australia for 6 days, December 5th until December 11th, and continue touring in January, starting 20th in the UK. And after 5 dates, they will go to the mainland of Europe, starting in Paris, January 26th. Will keep going for 3 weeks until February 17th, and also have festival shows for the EU summer lined up already. So there's a lot of chances to catch them live if you are looking forward to it. Better Days by Yellowcard. This one caught me by surprise. I didn't catch any news about the Yellowcard reunion, but all the better, right? When an album just pops up by a beloved band from your youth. This one starts with Better Days, lead single, really just delivering everything you would want from Yellowcard, and also was their first #1 on the alternative radio in the US in their 22-year career. So Ocean Avenue didn't manage to achieve that, and neither did Lights and Sounds, their most successful album. But this single stayed there, and it's the longest gap between the band having their chart debut and their first #1 song, which is really just insane 22 years later. Aside from Better Days, I would really, really, really like to highlight Barely Alive, which showcases one of Ryan Key's best vocal performances ever. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any song where he delivers this much. His voice sounds settled without going into resignation territory while still being vulnerable but confident, and is just in perfect synergy with Sean McCann, the violin, which also is the reason why Yellowcard was so approachable and still so emotional, is just the violin and the cello drive they have throughout every album with Sean McCann. And it really made them stand out in the pop punk era where most of the heavy melodies were coming from lead guitar, but here it was Sean McCann throughout, and he really delivers on this one as well. Like I said, Barely Alive, definitely one of the best tracks they ever put out. This album was produced by Travis Barker, who joined on an off day after Nick Long, who was brought in because Ryan Key wanted a more inside perspective on pop punk after being away from it for so long. And then Travis Barker had a free day and he joined and just quickly took over not only production duties, but also recording all the drums for the tracks. He had a really relaxed and supportive approach coming back from the Blink 182 comeback, and Ryan Key credits him with bringing out the most confident vocals ever, which, like I just said, you can tell by pretty much listening to one single song. Now, one quote I wanted to highlight was Ryan Key on the reunion and creative process in a Better Noise Music press release was that he said, I started the record as one version of myself and came out the other side changed. I went in knowing I needed help. I came out of it writing songs like I was 19 again. Yellowcard are currently touring the US with A Day to Remember. Pretty huge shows, pretty great bands. They will be on tour until November 22nd, so check it out if you have the chance. And they got 2 more big shows in December lined up in the US. So if you're near there, definitely would recommend to go. I've only heard nice things about Yellowcard. They also sold out their EU tour last year, but I didn't get to go. Oh, also, they will be on tour in New Zealand and Australia next year in February with Good Charlotte, which is another big, big pop punk band that just had a comeback. So if you're into that style, just give it a go.